A Musical Life with pianist Jennifer Nicole Campbell's Music Musings on Clair de Lune. Clair de Lune, by late 19th, early 20th century French composer Claude Debussy, is one of the world's most beloved pieces written for the piano. In this special episode of A Musical Life, I've invited award-winning pianist, composer, and Peabody Conservatory graduate Jennifer Nicole Campbell to share her insights into what makes Clair de Lune such a special musical experience. Welcome to A Musical Life. I'm Hugh Sung. On this show, we share stories about making music and the things that move our souls. Up to this point, these stories have been centered around musicians and composers living remarkable lives and creating incredible musical experiences. For this episode, I thought we'd try something a little different. Music is a fascinating language, and even when there aren't any words being sung, you can definitely sense an atmosphere, characters, and a narrative arc being created through the collage of sounds, silence, and time. But like any language, it really helps when you understand the syntax and meaning to fully appreciate and enjoy the poetry of sound we call music. To that end, I'm delighted to introduce you to today's guest artist and music translator. Jennifer Nicole Campbell is a remarkable young pianist, composer, and educator who recently launched a new series of videos called Music Musings. Her first episode tells the musical story of Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy. She did such a wonderful job explaining the inner workings of this popular piece that I invited her to be a guest contributor for the show. Let's start by listening to Jennifer's performance of Clair de Lune.
Hi everyone, this is Jennifer Nicole Campbell, and this is our first episode of Music Musings. And today we're going to be talking about one of the most popular pieces in the solo piano literature. So with the title, Clair de lune, which means in the moonlight, Debussy already gives us this really special and vivid imagery. It's actually originally part of a 4-movement work called Suite Bergamasque, and he wrote it when he was just 28 years old. We begin the piece very simply. So it's almost as if we're about to take a walk in the moonlight. And yet we have these notes that Debussy points out. They're sort of curious notes, right? That perks our curiosity. So here's the first one, A natural. And then he pauses. There's another perk of curiosity. Again, a pause. So Debussy starts to add more motion, okay, and we're starting to settle into this feeling, right? We're starting to really feel the warmth of the moonlight. Things are starting to feel more comfortable. And here's where I think we have our first real magical moment in the piece. It's almost like Debussy's giving us a deep breath, and we're really starting to sit back, stand back, and really enjoy the feeling of the moonlight. So here we go. So it's almost as if in this section we've gone from just simply observing the moonlight to really, we're starting to feel like we're becoming part of the landscape, okay? And we turn the page, and there's another magical moment that Debussy gives us. And it's the first part in the piece where something doesn't feel right, something's gone wrong, okay? We have these two notes, very dissonant, but he envelops them in a very different way. We have in the lower octave of the piano, it's the lowest point that we've had so far in the piece, and we reach upward, and there's those two dissonant notes. Reaching upwards, almost like we're asking why, why is this happening? Maybe it's something that's a moment that hasn't gone right in your day. Why is this happening? Or it could be just something that hasn't gone right in your life. And Debussy's exploring that feeling. Adds a new note in the bass, reaching a little higher this time. And in the next few lines, Debussy uses the bass line to increase the intensity of the music. Okay, so listen out for that. Here, the bass suddenly drops out of the music, and we're left with just this feeling that we're uplifted, right? Instead of we have the bass keeping us anchored sort of on an earthly plane, we're now totally up in the sky and up in the moonlight, right? And he achieves that by that bass line moving upward, creating this intensity until, right? So I think that's definitely the climax of this page, when the bass drops out. We're still asking why at this point, but then Debussy gives us an answer. And this is our third magical moment. And what makes the magic here is that we have much more motion now. The music is starting to move forward a little bit more. It's almost as if when you're looking at, if you're at the ocean or the seashore and it's the moonlight on the waves and you notice that it's creating these ripples and you're noticing all these details and the imagery. So he really gives us a stunning imagery with this motion moving forward. So there's the motion, then we have our melody. So throughout that whole section, he does write un poco mosso, which means a little more motion. So he definitely achieves that by the faster note values. Because of those qualities in the music and what he writes, it gives us this feeling that we're starting to feel more comfortable, and Debussy's almost encouraging us to just really enjoy. Forget about that more painful feeling that we had before. Now he's encouraging us to feel more relaxed and enjoy. Here, it starts to become a little bit more exuberant feeling. Things are starting to feel much better. But something sounds familiar about that, yeah? Sounds very similar to this. So again, that dissonance, but this time he offsets it because the notes are detached. He's including them in those waves that we had before, right? So now we have... So we can feel that pain, but it's detached and it's moving more quickly, so it's not as much of a focus. Here we have another climax of the phrase, and the left hand is moving extremely freely. We're moving ahead. It's actually the most motion we have with the left hand, so we have this feeling that we're free, we're moving ahead. There's a sense of joyfulness to it. It's this feeling of joy that just seems to overflow into the music. And that comes from that section before. And we think the music's going to calm down a little bit. But what happens is that in the left hand, Debussy creates this sense of anticipation. So if I play the left hand without any pedal, it's pretty boring, right? But if we add just a touch of pedal, it creates this sense of anticipation, right? Something's going to happen. And then we add our right hand. We have a conversation. Another conversation. And everything's been going so well, right? But then something happens here. Right, it's very strange. Something happens with the music. We were enjoying everything so much, but we're turning back somehow. And then we discover that we're actually heading back home. So this is another magical moment. We return back to the original theme of the beginning. But now we have the left hand playing this ascending figure upwards. So it's almost as if instead of letting the moonlight draw us in like it was before, now we're actually looking up towards the sky, up towards the moonlight. And he continues that ascending figure. And now we're returning back to the original octave. Remember before when we had this, that feeling of a deep breath, right? Well, now it's a little different. Hear that note? Something changed. Again, a new note. That's C flat. It's the same note each time. Here he actually repeats the same rhythm. But because he changes the notes every time, it gives us a different feeling. We're still reaching upward. And that's the only time the left hand really kind of goes over the right hand. And then we return back to this familiar feeling that we had those ripples before, right? But this time he only imitates the ripples and he doesn't have the melody. So all we have is these waves. And then he has that reference to the melody. Da, da, da. He holds it there in suspense and then lets it back down. We have a question. And Debussy repeats the question. But then he gives us an answer. So the magic of Debussy's Clair de Lune is not that it's just a piece inspired by the moonlight, because much of music, especially around the Impressionistic era when Debussy lived, was inspired by nature and things around them. But the way that Debussy portrays the moonlight, right? We begin with a simple walk in the moonlight, but then we go through more painful moments in the music, and then more joyful moments in the music, but we return back home. And when we return back home, however, we're changed inside because of those experiences that we've had, right? And it's a very relatable piece because we've all had experiences of suffering in our life and experiences of joy and fulfillment. But we always end up coming back home to this feeling, and we're changed because of those experiences that we have. And Debussy really portrays that mystery and the beauty of that mystery extremely well in Clair de Lune. I think that's one of the reasons that this piece is so memorable and so magical.
To watch Jennifer's Music Musings video on Clair de Lune, visit the show notes at amusicallife.com. There, you'll also find links to her website where you can check out her debut album, Perception of Shadows. As a special bonus, I've included a playlist video from my own YouTube series, Clair de Lune from Scratch, where I teach folks how to play this beautiful song. Even if you've never played the piano before, I think you'll be amazed at how easily and quickly you can learn this song when you have someone break things down for you one note at a time. If you give these videos a try, be sure to let me know by emailing me at stories@amusicallife.com. I'd love to hear from you. Special thanks to Jennifer for her contribution to the show. Until next time, I'm Hugh Sung, and I wish you a musical life.